When we approach organizing a festival, we are committed to diversity. And for us, diversity means, first and foremost, a diversity of poetic style, poetic voice, poetic language. It also means regional diversity. So when I say poetic style or voice, it means that we're going to have poets who are haiku poets. And so we had them in the Peabody Essex Museum in the Japanese galleries doing both haiku and other Japanese poetry forms in readings and in workshops. We're going to have sort of mainstream or what you might call academic poets, and we had those in a number of programs. It means we're also going to have poets who are unique. So the carpenter poets, there's a group of carpenters who love poetry and write poetry, but their full-time occupation is as carpenters. So they came and they read. We try to have bilingual poetry, so Haitian poets and poets for Haiti, Hispanic poets, poets like Rina Espaillat, who's Dominican, who writes both in Spanish and in English. And what she was able to do was to do a program of poetry and music around Lorca's poems that was both in English and in Spanish. We try to bring in always poets who come from certain parts of the state. And so we had poets coming from Western Massachusetts, we had poets coming from Southeastern Massachusetts, we had poets coming from Boston. We try to make sure that we're giving a voice to a variety of poets. So for instance, Consequence Magazine, which is a magazine of poetry and war and the experience of war, has done a number of programs. And we were able to have a poet who spent 7 years in the Army and in Iraq read on that Friday night. So again, for us, diversity of poetic style, diversity of voice, ethnic, racial, age. So we have poets, for instance, we had Dot 4, who are for older, as they like to say, women of a certain age. And we had the student day of poetry with high school students. We had the finalists for Poetry Out Loud reciting on the main stage, but we also had slam poets in their 20s and in their 30s. So it's diversity of style, of voice, of region, of age, of gender, of race, every kind of diversity you have. And we work really hard to make sure that our festival really highlights all of the different voices that make up poetry. And it's very hard because there are so many wonderful poets in this state, and as well, our planning committee tries to bring in a couple of poets who are national and have some roots in Massachusetts, but may not be Massachusetts poets.